President of the United States is enjoying this holiday by melting down on Truth Social. Not just about his individual grievances or Jeffrey Epstein, but the war that he wants to start. Donald Trump is announcing strikes on Truth Social right now because he wants us to be distracted from the scandal consuming his White House. And we are going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into the insane post that Donald Trump made, and why this no new wars administration seems to be trying to drag us into every single conflict imaginable, I want to start with someone who has been calling Donald Trump out for doing just that, Jason Crow, who Donald Trump is still threatening.
The immediate authority that any president has to conduct self-defense operations. After a certain period of time, after 60 days, a president no longer has the ability to just do whatever he or she wants. You have to come to Congress and get that authority. We're way outside that window. It's time for Congress to get re-involved. But then there's also the issue of the conduct of the strikes themselves. You know, I'm a combat veteran. I did 3 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. I saw the unedited video of that double tap strike, is what it's being called, in early September.
That killed survivors.
That killed survivors, and it was gutting to me because there was just no justification for that second strike. That is not who we need to be. That's not who we are as a country. That was an unlawful strike by any standard that I was trained and operated on when I went overseas. And I'm going to continue to push for accountability.
The U.S. government keeps saying it's about going after narco-terrorists. That's how they are referring to people who are on these boats that they're striking. And so I keep wondering, though, if fentanyl's not really coming from Venezuela. We know, according to the Government Accountability Office, that's mostly China and Mexico. Why is Venezuela in the crosshairs? Why such a focus on Venezuela?
Well, that's the question, right? They don't have an answer to that question because this clearly seems to be about an effort to force Maduro out, to push us towards
regime change. That is the end goal here.
Yeah, I do believe that is what they're doing, which is exactly why accountability in Congress matters so much. And you know, this idea that the boat strikes and what's happening more broadly within the Caribbean is about fentanyl and the war on drugs, that also is not the case, right? It's fentanyl that's devastating our kids, that's devastating our communities, that we need to actually have an effort and a strategy to end. This administration hasn't destroyed one single shipment of fentanyl. Fentanyl is coming via land routes and air routes, not via boats, right? They're hitting marijuana, they're hitting cocaine. That is largely not what is devastating our children and our communities, right? And at the same time, as they say that they're trying to cut off all these drug routes, the president goes and he pardons one of the biggest and most notorious drug dealers of the 21st century. Right? So none of this makes any sense.
The former president or former leader of Honduras.
That's right.
Let's switch gears, because on Friday we saw the DOJ release some of the Epstein files. They were supposed to release all of them to comply with the law. Now we're hearing from Congressman Massey and Ro Khanna that they may try to bring inherent contempt proceedings against Attorney General Bondi. Would you support that move? And what did you make of what was revealed?
Yeah, I would support that. I mean, the lawlessness of our Attorney General, of our FBI Director, of our Secretary of Defense continues unabated, right? And I agree with your former guest that I don't believe we're going to see all these files until there's a different occupant in the White House, right? Donald Trump has weaponized the federal government to his favor against his political opponents. Let's not forget the fact that me and Mark Kelly and several other members of Congress are currently under FBI inquiry for simply stating the law and reminding our service members what their obligation under the Constitution is. So this administration will weaponize the DOJ and the FBI against their political opponents, and then they'll use it to insulate themselves and their allies. And I am not holding my breath that we're going to get a full disclosure. Now, we're going to continue to push for that, and I will join all my colleagues, Republican and Democrat alike, who are willing to push for full disclosure, because that is what the victims deserve. But this president is very clearly going to do anything possible to avoid accountability.
Do you think you'll have Republican support?
I'm not holding my breath for that either.
This administration is not only committing crimes on the daily, but they are doing so in the dumbest fashion possible. These are not smart people. If you want Pete Hegseth and any of his goobers to be your yes men, you are not going to get the top of the top, right? You are not going to get the geniuses. You're not going to get the strategic masterminds. You're going to get a fill-in weekend Fox host. Those people don't really know what they're doing. And that seems to be what Donald Trump is discovering. But it is still not stopping him from trying to start an armed conflict for a million reasons, of course. To get us not talking about Epstein to try to expand his tyrannical power. Or maybe just because he's lost his mind and wants to go full dictator. But that's what Trump is announcing tonight. Trump wrote on Truth Social tonight at my direction as Commander-in-Chief. The United States launched a powerful and deadly strike against ISIS terrorist scum in northwest Nigeria, who have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many centuries. I have previously warned these terrorists that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, there would be hell to pay. And tonight, there was. The Department of War executed numerous perfect strikes as only the United States is capable of doing. Under my leadership and country, we will not allow radical Islamic terrorism to prosper. May God bless our military, and Merry Christmas to all, including the dead terrorist, of which there will be many more if their slaughter of Christians continues. He has truly just lost it. He's manic, and he wants to seem powerful and strong. But in this episode of just anger at a situation that I think he probably wholly does not care about or know about, do you think Donald Trump is reading any of the security briefings that he's giving or getting, or do you think he just wants to be posting on Truth Social? To me, he just wants to be posting on Truth Social. And again, this is the No New Wars administration. There are times where US military intervention has been necessary, but Donald Trump is not really the person in my mind to make those calls. I do not want us to be engaged in random foreign conflicts that we do not need to. I don't want us spending trillions of dollars on a Pentagon that can't pass an audit. And of course, it can under Pete Hegseth. Probably most of that money is going towards kegs. But Donald Trump just wants to be a strongman. He just wants to be a dictator. He just wants to say that look at me, I'm so big, I can impose force. And a lot of that has been in the most corrupt fashion possible. And Rachel Maddow broke that all down right here.
The corruption story in this country is becoming more and more central to people's understanding of what Donald Trump and the Trump-era Republican Party have to offer the country. I mean, people don't like what Trump is doing on immigration broadly. They don't like the cruelty. They don't like masked secret police roaming around in unmarked cars and grabbing people off the street on the basis of their race and shooting pepper balls at people and breaking people's car windows and chasing people into church parking lots and daycare centers. Yeah, it turns out people do not like that broadly, and that is why you are seeing protests against it in blue states and red states all across this country. But on top of that, we've learned from new reporting in the Washington Post in the last few days that the Trump administration also just fast-tracked a $1 billion government contract for self-deportation promotion to a random pro-Trump donor whose company had never had a government contract before. The Washington Post based this on records they say they reviewed. The Department of Homeland Security says there's nothing wrong with this at all, but it is $1 billion of your money going to some random pro-Trump donor who's never done anything like this before, but somehow the Homeland Security Department had to fast-track him this money. Your money. $1 billion of your money. Remember the so-called border czar, Tom Homan? Used to be ubiquitous in threatening immigrants on behalf of Trump. The same Tom Homan who is reportedly on tape receiving $50,000 in cash, green money, in a fast food bag from Cava. He reportedly received this money from undercover FBI agents in a bribery sting that was mysteriously shut down once Trump got back into office. Tom Homan initially said he had done nothing wrong, but he refused to address what he had done with the money. He later said, oh, actually, he didn't take the money at all. But reporting first from MS Now, later matched by a number of other news outlets, led members of Congress to make some formal inquiries on this. Among the questions still unanswered about that reported bribery scam for Trump's top immigration guy is the question of whether or not Tom Homan actually did get the money. And if he did he actually keep the money? Did he keep the $50,000 he reportedly took in that paper bag in that FBI sting operation from undercover FBI agents on tape? Again, that's $50,000 of your money. 10 business days from today is the deadline for the Justice Department to hand over to Democratic U.S. senators a whole bunch of its records on that bribery sting, including the tape and any information the government has on what Tom Homan might have done with the 50 G's from the FBI that he reportedly accepted on tape, which he now says, oh, he never got it all. That said, there's more new MS Now reporting on the FBI's shepherding of its own resources under the leadership of Trump's hand-picked FBI director, a right-wing podcaster named Cash. That reporting might be a bit of a distraction from those other corruption allegations right now at the FBI. MS Now reporting that Patel has demanded that the FBI use specially configured armored BMW SUVs for driving him around because he likes them better than the Suburbans that all other high-ranking government officials use. MS Now also reporting that he tried to demand that the FBI should buy him new private jets because he thought the old ones were outdated. Heaven forbid he be seen in a government SUV like the other government agencies, right? Or that he be seen in an outdated private jet. It's so embarrassing. I mean, you can understand, though, why he might feel a little competitive. The Homeland Security Department did reportedly purchase 2 new private jets for Trump's Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem for $172 million of your dollars, right? Seems like a great stewardship of your money, right? How about the $15 million of your money that the U.S. military just handed to a little-known drone company soon after the president's son, Don Jr., was put on its board and given shares in that company? Weird. Their revenue like tripled in a few months after Don Jr. got on the board and got some shares. That's so weird. I wonder how they got that military contract. How about the $600 million that another Don Jr. company just got from his dad's Defense Department? It's, quote, biggest ever contract from the Pentagon.
If they're not grifting, they're not trying hard enough. Because it's always a grift. It is always a grift with this administration that we are going to call out every single day, including Christmas. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.